What if tomorrow's reality doesn't exist until you wake up and observe it? Last Tuesday, physicists at Stanford University fired a single photon through a device that should have forced it to choose one path or another. Instead, they discovered something that defies everything we know about time itself. The photon somehow traveled both paths simultaneously, existing in multiple realities at once, until the exact moment a detector observed it. Then, like a cosmic magic trick, all possibilities collapsed into just one reality. But here's what will shatter your understanding of existence. Recent experiments suggest this isn't just happening to tiny particles in labs. It might be happening to your future right now, with tomorrow existing in countless potential states, waiting for your consciousness to decide which reality becomes real. Before we dive into this mind-bending journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about time and reality, hit that like button and subscribe, because tonight we're exploring how observation might literally create the future. Chapter 1. The Observer's Paradox. Imagine standing at your bedroom window tomorrow morning, looking out at a world that didn't exist until the exact moment you opened your eyes. This isn't science fiction or philosophical speculation. This is the stunning implication of quantum superposition, a phenomenon so bizarre that even Einstein called it spooky and refused to believe it could be true. But Einstein was wrong, and the proof surrounds us every moment of every day. The universe operates on principles so strange that reality itself seems to wait for consciousness to decide what becomes real. We're not just observers of existence, we might be its active creators, painting reality from an infinite palette of possibilities with every conscious moment. The story begins in 1801, when British scientist Thomas Young conducted an experiment that would eventually reveal the most shocking truth about reality ever discovered. Young was trying to settle a debate about whether light was made of particles or waves. What he found instead was something that would haunt physicists for over 2 centuries and counting. Young's double-slit experiment was elegantly simple. He shone light through 2 narrow parallel slits, cut into a screen, then observed where the light landed on a wall behind it. If light was made of particles, he expected to see 2 bright strips on the wall, matching the 2 slits. If light was made of waves, he expected to see an interference pattern where waves from both slits would combine, creating alternating bands of bright and dark areas. What Young observed changed everything. The light created an interference pattern, proving that light behaves like waves. But here's where reality starts to break down in ways that still make physicists uncomfortable today. When researchers later fired single photons one at a time through the same setup, something impossible happened. Each individual photon somehow created the same interference pattern, as if it had passed through both slits simultaneously and interfered with itself. This phenomenon defies every assumption about how reality works. A single particle of light, fired one at a time, was somehow taking both possible paths through the apparatus simultaneously. It existed in what physicists call superposition, occupying multiple states at once until something forced it to choose just one reality. But the story gets stranger. When scientists decided to observe which slit each photon actually passed through by placing detectors at the slits, the interference pattern immediately disappeared. The photons suddenly start behaving like ordinary particles, choosing one slit or the other instead of passing through both simultaneously. The mere act of observation changed the fundamental behavior of reality itself. Think about what this means. These particles somehow knew they were being watched. The presence of an observer, of conscious measurement, transformed the behavior of matter at the most basic level. It's as if reality exists in a cloud of possibilities until consciousness intervenes to select which possibility becomes real. This observer effect has been confirmed in thousands of experiments with every type of particle physicists can test. Electrons, neutrons, even large molecules behave the same way. When unobserved, they exist in superposition, occupying multiple states simultaneously. When observed, they collapse into single, definite states. the implications stretch far beyond tiny particles in laboratory experiments. If consciousness can influence the behavior of matter simply by observing it, then what role does consciousness play in shaping the larger reality we experience every day? What happens when we apply the principles of quantum superposition to time itself, to the future that awaits us when we wake tomorrow morning? Recent experiments have pushed the boundaries of superposition to scales that approach our everyday experience. In 2020, researchers at the University of Vienna created superposition states in objects containing over 10,000 atoms. Other teams have demonstrated quantum effects in bacterial photosynthesis, suggesting that life itself might have evolved to harness quantum superposition for survival. But perhaps most unsettling of all are the delayed choice experiments pioneered by physicist John Wheeler. These experiments show that particles seem to make decisions about their past behavior based on future observations. A photon fired toward a detector setup can apparently decide whether it behaved like a wave or particle millions of years ago, based on how we choose to observe it today. This retroactive influence suggests that the relationship between observation and reality is far more complex than anyone imagined. If the future can influence the past, and observation creates a reality, then time itself might be just another quantum phenomenon, waiting for consciousness to collapse it from infinite possibility into singular experience. The mathematical framework describing superposition tells us that particles don't just sometimes exist in multiple states. They always exist in multiple states until observed. Every possible outcome, every potential path, every conceivable future exists simultaneously in what physicists call the quantum realm. Observation doesn't just reveal which state was real all along. Observation creates reality by forcing infinite possibility to collapse into singular actuality. When you walk to your kitchen this morning, quantum mechanics suggests you didn't just choose one path. You walked every possible path simultaneously, through a superposition of realities where you moved left, moved right, stopped halfway, turned around, or never left your room at all. Only when you arrived at your destination did all those possibilities collapse into the single reality you remember experiencing. This isn't metaphor or mysticism. This is the mathematical description of how reality works according to our most successful theories about the fundamental nature of existence. The equations of quantum mechanics don't describe a universe where things have definite properties waiting to be discovered. They describe a universe where properties come into existence only when consciousness observes them. But if observation creates reality at the quantum level, and quantum effects scale up to influence biological systems and potentially consciousness itself, then we face a profound question that goes to the heart of existence. If consciousness shapes reality through observation, and our future contains infinite possibilities existing in superposition right now, then what role does human awareness play in literally creating tomorrow? The answer to that question requires us to dive deeper into the mathematics of possibility, the nature of time, and the relationship between mind and matter that quantum mechanics has forced us to confront. Because if particles can exist in multiple states until observed, if the future can influence the past, and if consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon, then everything we thought we knew about the nature of existence might be just the beginning of a far stranger and more wonderful truth. Chapter 2: Schrödinger's Tomorrow. In 1935, Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger created a thought experiment that would become one of the most famous puzzles in science. He imagined a cat sealed inside a box with a device that had a 50% chance of releasing poison within 1 hour. According to quantum mechanics, until someone opened the box to observe the cat, it would exist in superposition, simultaneously alive and dead. Schrödinger meant this as a criticism of quantum theory, showing how ridiculous it sounded when applied to everyday objects. He never imagined that future experiments would prove his impossible. Cat might actually represent how reality works. But what if we replace Schrödinger's cat with something even more unsettling? What if we replace it with tomorrow? What if your future, like that hypothetical cat, exists in superposition right now, simultaneously containing every possible outcome until the moment you observe it into reality? What if tomorrow morning isn't waiting for you in some predetermined state, but exists as a cloud of infinite possibilities that only becomes real when consciousness collapses it into a single timeline? This isn't just philosophical speculation anymore. Recent advances in quantum mechanics have pushed superposition beyond individual particles to systems approaching the complexity of living things. And the implications for how we understand time, choice, and the nature of future events are staggering beyond anything Schrödinger could have imagined when he first proposed his paradoxical cat. To understand how tomorrow might exist in superposition, we need to dive deeper into what superposition actually means at the quantum level. When physicists say a particle exists in superposition, they're not saying it's in one state or another, and we just don't know which. They're saying it literally exists in all possible states, simultaneously, until something forces it to choose just one. This isn't a limitation of our knowledge or measurement tools. This is a fundamental property of reality itself. The mathematics of quantum mechanics describes particles not as objects with definite properties, but as waves of probability spreading across all possible states they could occupy. These probability waves are as real as the particles themselves, existing in a dimension beyond our everyday experience of space and time. When a quantum system is in superposition, it doesn't just contain multiple possibilities. It actively explores all of them simultaneously. An electron in superposition around an atomic nucleus doesn't orbit in one specific path, while we remain ignorant of which path it's taking. It orbits in every possible path at the same time, creating a cloud of probability that encompasses all potential locations and movements the electron could possibly have. This probability cloud is what physicists call the wave function, and it represents something far stranger than anything our everyday experience prepares us to understand. The wave function doesn't describe what might happen to a particle. It describes what is happening to a particle across multiple realities simultaneously. When we observe the particle and the wave function collapses, we're not discovering which state it was in all along. We're forcing it to choose one state from the infinite number it was occupying. Now, imagine applying this principle to time itself. If quantum superposition governs the fundamental behavior of matter, and matter is what creates the events we experience as the passage of time, then time itself might exist in superposition. Every moment might contain not just what happens, but every possible thing that could happen, existing simultaneously until observation collapses infinite possibility into singular experience. This concept becomes even more mind-bending when we consider the delayed choice quantum eraser experiments, first proposed by physicist John Wheeler in the 1970s and successfully performed decades later. These experiments show that particles can apparently change their past behavior based on future observations. A photon fired toward a detector setup can decide whether it behaved like a wave or particle millions of years ago, depending on how we choose to observe it today. If the future can influence the past, then causality itself might be far more flexible than we ever imagined. Maybe your decisions tomorrow don't just determine future outcomes. Maybe they reach backward through time to influence the probabilities that led to this moment, creating a loop where effect and cause become entangled across time in ways that mirror quantum entanglement across space. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957, suggests that superposition never actually collapses. Instead, every possible outcome of every quantum event creates a separate branch of reality. When we observe a particle in a specific state, we're not collapsing its wave function. We're simply finding ourselves in the branch of reality where that particular outcome occurred. All other outcomes happen too, in parallel universes that split off from our own at the moment of measurement. If the many worlds interpretation is correct, then every decision you make, every choice you face, every possible future that could unfold from this moment already exists in parallel branches of reality. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you're not discovering what happened overnight. You're selecting which branch of the multiverse to continue experiencing out of countless billions of branches where different versions of tomorrow occurred. This means that somewhere in the quantum multiverse, there's a branch where you became a famous artist, another where you moved to a different country, another where you made completely different choices that led to an entirely different life. These aren't just possibilities that might have been. They're realities that are existing in parallel dimensions that branch off from every quantum decision point in your personal timeline. But here's what makes this even stranger. Recent experiments have demonstrated quantum effects in biological systems that are far larger and more complex than anyone thought possible. Photosynthesis in plants appears to use quantum superposition to explore multiple energy pathways simultaneously, finding the most efficient route from light absorption to chemical energy with nearly perfect accuracy. Birds navigate using quantum entanglement in their visual systems. Even the process of DNA replication might rely on quantum tunneling to maintain accuracy. If living systems can harness quantum superposition for biological functions, then consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon. The human brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each forming thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a network complex enough to potentially maintain quantum coherence across macroscopic scales. Some researchers propose that consciousness emerges from quantum processes in cellular structures called microtubules, allowing the brain to process information in superposition across multiple possible states simultaneously. If consciousness operates through quantum mechanics, then awareness itself might exist in superposition. Every thought you think, every decision you consider, every possible response to any situation might occur simultaneously in your quantum consciousness, until the moment you observe your own mental state and collapse it into a single thought, choice, or action. This suggests a profound connection between consciousness and the creation of reality that goes far beyond the observer effect in laboratory experiments. If consciousness shapes reality through observation, and consciousness itself operates in quantum superposition, then the act of being aware might literally create the timeline you experience by continuously collapsing infinite possibility into singular moments of existence. Consider what this means for the future that awaits you. If tomorrow exists in superposition, containing every possible outcome that could emerge from the choices available to you today, then your consciousness tomorrow morning doesn't just observe what happened overnight. It participates in creating what happened by observing it into existence out of all the possibilities that were waiting in superposition. Your future self, waking up tomorrow, might be collaborating with your present self in ways that transcend linear time. The observations your consciousness makes tomorrow could influence the probabilities that shape the choices available to you today, creating a feedback loop between future observation and present possibility that operates through the quantum realm beyond the normal flow of time. This temporal entanglement suggests that free will might work differently than we ever imagined. Instead of making choices that determine future outcomes, you might be making choices that select which timeline to experience out of all the timelines that exist simultaneously in quantum superposition. Your decisions don't create the future. They navigate between futures that already exist in parallel dimensions of possibility. But if every possible future exists simultaneously, what determines which future you experience? The answer might lie in the nature of quantum observation itself. Just as particles in superposition respond to the type of measurement apparatus used to observe them, your future might respond to the type of consciousness you bring to the act of observation. The quality of your awareness, the clarity of your attention, the openness of your mind to possibility might all influence which branch of reality you select when you observe your superposed future into existence. This means that consciousness development might be the key to navigating quantum timelines, allowing you to access futures that exist in superposition but remain hidden from less coherent forms of awareness. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes and begin to observe your day into existence, remember that you might be participating in the most profound creative act in the universe. You're not just discovering what reality contains, you're collaborating with the quantum realm to decide what reality becomes, collapsing infinite possibility into the singular timeline that you'll experience as your life. The cat in Schrödinger's box was both alive and dead until observed. Your tomorrow might be both wonderful and terrible, both successful and challenging, both exactly what you expect and completely surprising, until the moment your consciousness observes it into the single reality you'll remember as the day that was. Chapter 3. The quantum clock. Time itself might be the universe's greatest illusion. We experience it as a steady river flowing from past to future, carrying us along in a current we cannot control or reverse. But what if time isn't a river at all? What if it's more like a vast ocean where past, present, and future exist simultaneously, and consciousness acts like a submarine navigating between different depths of temporal reality? Recent discoveries in quantum mechanics suggest that time might not flow in the direction we think it does. In fact, time might not flow at all. In 2007, physicist John Wheeler proposed one of the most unsettling experiments in the history of science. He suggested firing a photon toward a device that could either measure it as a particle or as a wave, but the choice of which measurement to make wouldn't be decided until after the photon had already passed through the apparatus. This delayed choice experiment seemed impossible, because it suggested that a decision made in the future could influence what happened in the past. When researchers finally performed Wheeler's delayed choice experiment in real laboratories, they discovered something that defies everything we think we know about cause and effect. The photon's behavior in the past actually changed, depending on how scientists chose to measure it in the future. A decision made after an event had already occurred somehow reached backward through time to influence what had happened before the decision was even made. This retroactive influence isn't limited to tiny particles in laboratory settings. In 2018, astronomers performed a cosmic version of Wheeler's experiment using light from distant quasars that had been traveling through space for billions of years. They found the same impossible result. Light that left distant galaxies billions of years before Earth even existed seemed to respond to measurement choices made by human scientists in the 21st century. The implications are staggering. If the future can influence the past, then the arrow of time that seems so fundamental to our experience might be nothing more than a convenient illusion created by consciousness navigating through a reality where all moments exist simultaneously. Past, present, and future might be equally real, equally accessible, and equally capable of influencing each other through quantum entanglement across time itself. This temporal entanglement suggests that time might work more like quantum superposition than like the classical flow we experience in everyday life. Just as particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed, moments in time might exist in multiple configurations simultaneously until consciousness observes them into a specific sequence of cause and effect. The mathematics of quantum mechanics treats time as just another dimension, no more special than the three dimensions of space we move through freely. Einstein's theories of relativity prove that time is relative, flowing at different rates depending on gravity and velocity. But quantum mechanics goes even further, suggesting that time might be quantized into discrete units, like frames in a movie, rather than flowing continuously like we experience it. These quantum time units, called Planck time intervals, last only about 5.4 times 10 to the negative 44th seconds. That's so brief that light can only travel a distance smaller than a proton during a single Planck time unit. If time really is quantized at this scale, then reality might update itself in discrete jumps rather than flowing smoothly, like a cosmic computer processing existence, one frame at a time. This digital nature of time connects to recent discoveries about time crystals, a new phase of matter that repeats patterns in time rather than space. Normal crystals, like salt or diamonds, have atoms arranged in repeating patterns through space. Time crystals have atoms that repeat patterns through time, oscillating between different states in regular cycles that continue indefinitely without using any energy. Time crystals were first predicted by Nobel Prize winner Frank Wilczek in 2012 and successfully created in laboratories by 2016. These temporal crystals suggest that time itself might have structure, texture, and grain, like a fabric that can be woven into patterns that exist outside the normal flow of temporal experience. If time has structure at the quantum level, then consciousness might interact with that structure in ways that allow it to navigate between different temporal configurations. Instead of being carried along by time's flow, consciousness might be swimming through time's ocean, diving deeper into the past, or surfacing toward possible futures based on the quality and focus of awareness itself. Recent experiments with quantum computers have revealed even stranger properties of time at the quantum level. Researchers have successfully run quantum algorithms that seem to operate backward through time, processing information in reverse temporal order while maintaining logical consistency. These time-reverse computations suggest that information itself might be capable of flowing backward through time under certain quantum conditions. In 2019, physicists at the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology created a quantum system that spontaneously evolved backward in time, returning to its previous state without any external intervention. They called this temporal reversal a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy always increases over time. But in the quantum realm, even the fundamental arrow of time becomes negotiable. These discoveries point toward a radical reframing of what time actually is and how consciousness relates to temporal experience. Instead of consciousness existing within time, time might exist within consciousness. Instead of awareness flowing through temporal moments might flow through awareness, with consciousness acting as the medium through which different configurations of time express themselves. This relationship between consciousness and time becomes even more profound when we consider how memory and anticipation shape our experience of temporal flow. Your past exists only in memory, which is a present moment neurological configuration. Your future exists only in imagination, which is also a present moment mental activity. The only time that actually exists from the perspective of direct experience is the eternal now of immediate awareness. But what if this eternal now isn't just a philosophical concept or meditative realization? What if it's a literal description of how time works at the quantum level? What if consciousness exists in an eternal present that contains all possible past and future moments in superposition? And what we experience as the flow of time is actually consciousness navigating between different configurations of this eternal now. Recent research in neuroscience supports this possibility. Studies of brain activity during meditation show that experienced practitioners can achieve states where normal temporal processing shuts down almost completely. Advanced meditators report experiences of timelessness where hours pass in what feels like minutes, or minutes stretch to contain the subjective experience of hours. Brain scans during these states show unusual patterns of neural synchronization that suggest consciousness might be accessing temporal experiences that exist outside normal time flow. Even more intriguingly, some meditation traditions describe states of awareness where practitioners claim to directly perceive multiple possible futures simultaneously, observing potential timelines in superposition before they collapse into singular experiences. While these reports can't be verified scientifically, they align remarkably well with the mathematical descriptions of temporal superposition emerging from quantum mechanics research. The delayed choice quantum eraser experiments reveal another crucial aspect of how consciousness might relate to time's quantum nature. These experiments show that quantum systems can remain in superposition across time until a future observation retroactively determines their past behavior. This suggests that the act of conscious observation doesn't just collapse present moment possibilities into definite states. It reaches backward through time to collapse past possibilities into the specific history that leads to the present moment of observation. If consciousness can retroactively influence the past through quantum observation, then your awareness right now might be shaping not just your future, but also your personal history. The memories you access, the stories you tell about your past, the meaning you derive from previous experiences might all participate in a quantum feedback loop where present consciousness collaborates with past possibilities to create the specific timeline you remember as your life. This retroactive creation of personal history suggests that psychological healing and transformation might work through quantum principles that transcend normal causality. When therapy or spiritual practice helps someone reframe their relationship to past trauma, they might not just be changing their interpretation of fixed events. They might be participating in quantum processes that literally alter the probability distributions that shaped those past experiences. The block universe theory proposed by Einstein suggests that all moments in time exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional structure where past, present, and future are equally real. From this perspective, your birth, your death, and every moment in between already exist as fixed points in space-time. But quantum mechanics adds a crucial modification to this theory. Instead of existing as fixed events, each moment might exist as a superposition of all possible events that could occur at that temporal location. This quantum block universe would contain not just your actual life, but every possible version of your life existing simultaneously across parallel temporal dimensions. The path you experience as your personal timeline would represent just one thread woven through a vast tapestry of quantum possibilities that contains every choice you could make, every outcome you could experience, every person you could become. Your consciousness would act like a needle threading through this temporal tapestry, stitching together a coherent narrative from the infinite possibilities available at each moment. The past you remember and the future you anticipate would represent the specific thread you've woven so far, but countless other threads would remain available for consciousness to explore through quantum superposition. This understanding of time as a quantum phenomenon rather than a classical flow has profound implications for how we understand death, birth, and the continuity of consciousness across time. If all moments exist simultaneously in quantum superposition, then every version of yourself at every age exists as an equally real aspect of your total identity across time. The child you were and the elder you might become both exist now in different regions of your personal quantum space-time. Death might not represent the end of consciousness so much as the completion of one particular thread through the quantum tapestry of time. Birth might not represent the beginning of consciousness so much as consciousness focusing its attention on one specific temporal trajectory out of the infinite trajectories available in quantum superposition. But perhaps most remarkably, if consciousness can navigate through quantum time rather than simply flowing with classical time, then awareness itself might be capable of transcending the temporal limitations that seem to define human existence. Advanced states of consciousness might allow direct access to the quantum realm where all times exist simultaneously, enabling experiences of past and future that operate outside the normal constraints of linear temporal flow. Tomorrow morning, when you wake and begin to observe your day into existence, you might be participating in processes that reach both backward and forward through time simultaneously. Your consciousness might be collaborating with quantum possibilities that extend far beyond the immediate moment, weaving together past probabilities and future potentials into the singular timeline you experience as your life. The clock by your bedside might measure something far stranger than the passage of time. It might be measuring consciousness itself as it navigates through the timeless quantum ocean where every moment exists forever. Chapter 4: The Measurement of Destiny. In 1926, physicist Werner Heisenberg made a discovery that would forever change how we understand the relationship between observation and reality. He found that the very act of measuring a quantum system inevitably disturbs it, making it impossible to know both the position and momentum of a particle with perfect accuracy simultaneously. But Heisenberg's uncertainty principle revealed something far more profound than mere measurement limitations. It suggested that uncertainty isn't a flaw in our knowledge about reality. Uncertainty might be woven into the fundamental fabric of existence itself. What if this quantum uncertainty doesn't just apply to particles in laboratory experiments? What if it governs the deepest processes of consciousness, decision-making, and the creation of personal destiny? Recent research suggests that the human brain might operate as a quantum measurement device, continuously collapsing waves of possibility into the singular experiences we remember as our lives. Every choice you make, every decision you face, every moment of awareness might participate in quantum measurement processes that literally create reality through the act of conscious observation. The mathematics of quantum measurement describes a process that seems almost magical when translated into everyday language. Before measurement, a quantum system exists in superposition, occupying all possible states simultaneously, according to probability distributions that spread across multiple dimensions of possibility. The wave function that describes these probability distributions contains complete information about every possible outcome the system could produce, but it doesn't tell us which outcome will actually occur. Then comes the moment of measurement, and something extraordinary happens. The wave function collapses instantaneously, regardless of the size of the system being measured. All possibilities except one simply vanish, leaving behind a single definite outcome that becomes the new reality for everything connected to that quantum system. This collapse happens faster than light could travel across the system, suggesting that quantum measurement operates outside the normal constraints of space and time. But here's what makes quantum measurement truly mysterious. The collapse doesn't happen gradually or partially. It's instantaneous and complete, as if the universe makes a definitive choice in a single moment that spans no time at all. One instant the system exists in multiple states simultaneously, and the next instant it exists in only one state, with no transition period between superposition and definite reality. This binary nature of quantum measurement mirrors something profound about consciousness itself. Awareness also seems to operate in discrete moments rather than continuous flow. One moment you're unconscious during sleep, and the next moment you're awake, with no gradual transition between these states. One moment you're unaware of a thought, and the next moment it appears fully formed in consciousness, as if ideas collapse from superposition into definite mental experiences through some form of quantum measurement in the brain. Recent neuroscience research has revealed that consciousness does indeed operate in discrete temporal intervals rather than continuous streams. The brain processes information in cycles that last roughly 40 milliseconds each, during which neural networks synchronize their activity before resetting for the next cycle. During each 40 millisecond window, the brain appears to bind together all sensory inputs, memories, and mental processes into a single unified moment of conscious experience. These discrete moments of consciousness look remarkably similar to quantum measurement events. During each 40 millisecond cycle, the brain might be collapsing a superposition of possible experiences into the single conscious moment you actually experience. Instead of gradually building up awareness from individual sensory inputs, consciousness might emerge through quantum processes that instantly integrate all available information into unified experiential states. If consciousness operates through quantum measurement, then every moment of awareness involves collapsing infinite possibility into singular experience. When you decide what to have for breakfast, you're not just choosing between available options. You might be participating in quantum processes that collapse a superposition of all possible breakfast choices into the single reality you actually experience. The decision doesn't just determine what you eat, it participates in creating the reality where that choice becomes part of your personal timeline. This quantum nature of decision-making suggests that free will might work very differently than we normally imagine. Instead of consciousness choosing between predetermined options that already exist in classical reality, consciousness might be choosing between quantum possibilities that exist in superposition until the moment of decision collapses them into definite outcomes. Your choices don't just select from available realities, they participate in creating reality by collapsing quantum possibilities into classical experiences. The role of expectation in shaping outcomes provides compelling evidence for this quantum model of consciousness. Psychological research has repeatedly demonstrated that what people expect to happen significantly influences what actually happens, even in situations where expectation shouldn't logically affect outcomes. The placebo effect in medicine, expectancy effects in education, and self-fulfilling prophecies in social situations all suggest that consciousness somehow participates in creating the realities it expects to experience. From a quantum perspective, expectation might work by biasing the probability distributions that determine which outcomes emerge when wave functions collapse. If consciousness operates through quantum measurement, then the mental state of the observer during measurement could influence which possibilities become actual experiences. Positive expectations might increase the probability of positive outcomes, not through wishful thinking, but through quantum processes that respond to the observational state of consciousness itself. Recent experiments with quantum random number generators have provided direct evidence that human consciousness can influence quantum systems in ways that classical physics cannot explain. These devices use quantum processes like radioactive decay or photon behavior to generate truly random sequences of numbers that should be completely unpredictable and uninfluenceable by any classical means. Yet, multiple studies have found that human intention and attention can create small but statistically significant deviations from pure randomness in these quantum systems. The Global Consciousness Project, led by Princeton University researcher Roger Nelson, has been monitoring a worldwide network of quantum random number generators for over 20 years. The data shows that these devices become less random during major global events that capture widespread human attention, such as natural disasters, terrorist attacks, or moments of collective celebration. The effect is small but consistent, suggesting that focused human consciousness might influence quantum processes across global scales. These findings imply that consciousness doesn't just observe quantum reality. It participates in creating quantum reality through the quality and focus of attention itself. The more coherent and focused consciousness becomes, the more it might influence the probability distributions that determine which quantum possibilities collapse into actual experiences. This suggests that consciousness development and mental training might literally enhance a person's ability to influence their personal reality through quantum measurement processes. Meditation traditions from around the world have long claimed that advanced states of consciousness can influence physical reality in ways that transcend normal causality. While these claims have often been dismissed as superstition, quantum mechanics provides a scientific framework for understanding how consciousness might indeed participate in creating reality through processes that operate beyond classical cause and effect. Studies of advanced meditators show unusual patterns of brain activity that suggest these practitioners achieve states of neural coherence far beyond normal waking consciousness. During deep meditation, the brain often displays gamma wave activity that synchronizes across multiple regions simultaneously, creating global patterns of neural coordination that mirror the coherent quantum states that are most effective at influencing quantum measurement outcomes. Some researchers propose that meditation works by training consciousness to access quantum coherence, states that enhance the brain's ability to influence quantum processes, both within the nervous system and in the external environment. This would explain why contemplative traditions associate advanced consciousness states with increased intuition, enhanced creativity, and what mystics have traditionally called miraculous powers. The relationship between consciousness and quantum measurement becomes even more intriguing when we consider how biological systems have evolved to harness quantum effects for survival purposes. Photosynthesis in plants achieves nearly 100% efficiency in converting light to chemical energy by using quantum superposition to explore multiple energy pathways simultaneously before collapsing into the most efficient route. Bird navigation relies on quantum entanglement in specialized proteins that allow birds to literally see magnetic fields as visual overlays on their normal vision. If evolution has optimized biological systems to use quantum effects for enhanced functionality, then consciousness itself might have evolved as a sophisticated quantum measurement system that enhances survival by allowing organisms to influence probability distributions in ways that increase beneficial outcomes. Human consciousness might represent the most advanced quantum measurement device that evolution has produced, capable of influencing reality through quantum processes that extend far beyond individual biological systems. This evolutionary perspective suggests that developing greater coherence and focus in consciousness isn't just personally beneficial. It might be crucial for humanity's continued evolution as a species capable of consciously participating in the quantum processes that create reality. As we face unprecedented global challenges that require coordinated responses across planetary scales, our ability to influence quantum probability distributions through collective consciousness might determine whether humanity successfully navigates the transition to a sustainable future. The implications extend beyond personal development and species survival to questions about the fundamental nature of existence itself. If consciousness creates reality through quantum measurement, then the universe might be far more participatory and responsive to awareness than classical physics ever suggested. Instead of consciousness emerging from unconscious matter, through purely classical processes, consciousness and matter might be co-creative partners in an ongoing quantum dance that continuously generates reality through their interaction. This participatory universe model suggests that consciousness isn't just an accidental byproduct of cosmic evolution. Consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality that plays an essential role in the universe's ongoing creation of itself. Every moment of awareness, every decision, every act of attention might contribute to the cosmic process, through which infinite quantum possibility continuously collapses into the singular reality we all share. From this perspective, personal consciousness development becomes a form of cosmic service. By developing greater coherence, clarity, and wisdom in our individual consciousness, we enhance the universe's ability to create beneficial realities through quantum measurement processes. Every meditation, every moment of mindful awareness, every choice made from wisdom rather than reactivity contributes to the cosmic intelligence that guides quantum possibilities toward outcomes that support the flourishing of consciousness throughout the universe. Tomorrow morning, when you make your first conscious choice of the day, remember that you might be participating in quantum measurement processes that reach far beyond your individual life. Your decision about how to spend your morning might collapse probability distributions that influence outcomes across multiple scales of reality, from your personal timeline to the collective human future to the cosmic evolution of consciousness itself. The measurement of destiny isn't something that happens to you. It's something you participate in through every moment of conscious awareness, every decision guided by wisdom, every choice to develop greater coherence and compassion in your relationship with reality. You're not just observing the universe, you're collaborating with quantum processes that allow the universe to observe itself into ever greater expressions of beauty, complexity, and conscious awakening. Chapter 5: The Uncertainty Engine. In 1927, Werner Heisenberg stared at equations that would change everything we thought we knew about reality. His uncertainty principle revealed that at the quantum level, you cannot know both where a particle is and where it's going with perfect accuracy at the same time. The more precisely you measure one property, the more uncertain the other becomes. But Heisenberg discovered something far more unsettling than measurement limitations. He found that uncertainty isn't just a problem with our instruments or knowledge. Uncertainty is built into the fundamental structure of reality itself. What if this cosmic uncertainty doesn't stop at tiny particles in physics labs? What if it extends to the largest questions about existence, consciousness, and the future that awaits us? Recent discoveries suggest that uncertainty might be the engine that drives reality forward, the creative force that allows new possibilities to emerge from the quantum foam of infinite potential. Every moment you experience, every choice you face, every future you might inhabit exists within an uncertainty field so vast that it contains literally every possibility that could ever be. The mathematics of uncertainty at the quantum level describes something that defies common sense. When physicists calculate the uncertainty in a particle's position and momentum, they find that the product of these uncertainties can never drop below a specific minimum value called Planck's constant. This isn't a limitation of measurement technology. It's a fundamental law of nature that says reality itself contains irreducible uncertainty at its deepest level. But uncertainty in quantum mechanics doesn't mean that anything can happen randomly. It means that reality exists in a state of creative potential where multiple definite outcomes remain possible simultaneously until something collapses this potential into singular experience. The uncertainty principle doesn't describe chaos. It describes a universe poised on the edge of infinite creativity, where every moment contains far more possibility than could ever be expressed in classical reality. This quantum uncertainty creates what physicists call vacuum fluctuations, spontaneous appearances of particle pairs that emerge from empty space itself before disappearing back into nothingness. These fluctuations happen constantly throughout the universe, with virtual particles popping into existence and annihilating each other in time frames so brief that they exist below the threshold where classical physics applies. Empty space isn't actually empty. It's a seething ocean of quantum uncertainty, where potential realities continuously bubble up and dissolve back into possibility. The energy contained in these vacuum fluctuations is staggering beyond comprehension. Physicists estimate that a single cubic centimeter of empty space contains enough virtual energy to power human civilization for millions of years. This quantum energy exists in a state of uncertainty so complete that it normally cancels itself out and remains invisible to classical observation. But under extreme conditions, such as near black holes or during the first moments after the Big Bang, this uncertainty energy can become real, manifesting as the matter and energy that creates galaxies, stars, and planets. If uncertainty at the quantum level can create matter and energy from apparent nothingness, then uncertainty might be the fundamental creative force that drives the evolution of reality itself. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every living being might emerge from the uncertainty engine that operates at the quantum foundation of existence. The universe isn't running down toward maximum entropy and heat death. It's continuously creating itself from the inexhaustible uncertainty that exists at its quantum core. Recent discoveries about quantum tunneling reveal another aspect of how uncertainty enables impossible transformations in reality. Quantum tunneling allows particles to pass through barriers that should be completely impenetrable according to classical physics. A particle approaches a barrier that it doesn't have enough energy to overcome, yet somehow appears on the other side without passing through the barrier in any classical sense. This isn't science fiction or theoretical speculation. Quantum tunneling happens constantly in the electronic devices you use every day. Computer processors rely on quantum tunneling effects to function. The nuclear fusion that powers the sun depends on quantum tunneling to overcome the electromagnetic barriers that would otherwise prevent hydrogen atoms from fusing together. Without quantum tunneling, stars couldn't shine and life as we know it couldn't exist. But quantum tunneling reveals something profound about the nature of barriers and limitations in reality. What appears impossible from a classical perspective becomes not just possible, but inevitable from a quantum perspective. The uncertainty principle ensures that particles always retain some probability of existing beyond any barrier, no matter how formidable that barrier might appear. Uncertainty creates tunnels through impossibility itself. If quantum tunneling operates in biological systems, as recent research suggests it does, then consciousness might have access to quantum tunneling effects that allow awareness to transcend the apparent limitations of classical experience. Advanced states of consciousness described in contemplative traditions often involve experiences that seem to tunnel through the barriers of ordinary space, time, and identity in ways that mirror quantum tunneling at microscopic scales. The role of quantum coherence in maintaining uncertainty across multiple scales reveals another crucial aspect of how reality creates itself through uncertainty processes. Quantum coherence occurs when multiple particles become entangled in ways that allow them to maintain synchronized superposition states across larger distances and longer time frames than classical physics would predict. These coherent systems can preserve quantum uncertainty at scales approaching the macroscopic world we experience directly. Recent experiments have demonstrated quantum coherence in systems containing millions of atoms, suggesting that the boundary between quantum and classical reality might be far more fluid than previously thought. Biological systems routinely maintain quantum coherence across scales that were once considered impossible, using mechanisms that evolution has optimized over billions of years to harness uncertainty for enhanced survival and adaptation. If consciousness emerges from quantum processes in biological systems, then awareness itself might exist in a state of coherent uncertainty that allows it to access possibilities that remain hidden from classical observation. The stream of consciousness that you experience as your inner mental life might represent consciousness navigating through superposition states that contain multiple potential thoughts, feelings, and responses simultaneously until attention collapses these possibilities into singular experiences. This quantum model of consciousness suggests that uncertainty isn't something that limits human potential. Uncertainty might be the source of human potential, the creative space where consciousness can explore infinite possibilities before committing to specific choices and actions. Every moment of uncertainty you experience, every time you feel unsure about what to do or how to respond, you might be directly encountering the quantum foundation of reality where all futures exist in superposition, until consciousness selects which future to actualize. The relationship between uncertainty and creativity becomes even more profound when we consider how innovation and discovery actually occur in human experience. Scientific breakthroughs, artistic inspiration, and personal insights often emerge through processes that seem to operate outside normal logical reasoning. Researchers spend years working on problems that suddenly resolve themselves through intuitive leaps that appear to come from nowhere. Artists describe creative inspiration as receiving ideas from sources beyond their conscious minds. Spiritual traditions describe enlightenment as recognizing truths that were always present but somehow remained hidden from ordinary awareness. These creative processes might operate through quantum uncertainty mechanisms that allow consciousness to access information and possibilities that exist in superposition states beyond classical reasoning. When you have a sudden insight that solves a complex problem, you might be experiencing consciousness tunneling through the uncertainty barriers that normally separate different possibility spaces, gaining access to solutions that exist in quantum dimensions of potential reality. Recent research on intuition and decision-making provides compelling evidence for this quantum model of human creativity. Studies show that people often make better decisions when they rely on rapid intuitive assessments rather than prolonged analytical reasoning. The unconscious mind appears to process far more information than conscious awareness can handle, integrating complex patterns and possibilities in ways that mirror quantum computation processes. Advanced meditators and contemplatives report states of consciousness where they experience direct access to vast fields of potential knowledge and possibility that transcend their individual learning and experience. These states might represent consciousness accessing quantum uncertainty fields where information exists in superposition across multiple possible realities. Instead of creating new knowledge, advanced consciousness might discover knowledge that already exists in quantum dimensions of possibility. The implications for understanding human potential are revolutionary. If consciousness can learn to navigate quantum uncertainty fields with greater skill and coherence, then human beings might be capable of accessing possibilities that seem miraculous from classical perspectives. Enhanced intuition, accelerated learning, creative problem solving, and even healing might all involve consciousness developing greater ability to harness quantum uncertainty for beneficial outcomes. This quantum understanding of human potential suggests that uncertainty isn't something to be avoided or minimized. Uncertainty might be the doorway to capabilities that transcend ordinary human limitations. Learning to remain comfortable with uncertainty, to embrace the unknown as a space of infinite possibility rather than a source of anxiety, might be essential for developing the quantum capabilities that represent humanity's next stage of evolution. The uncertainty principle also applies to time itself, suggesting that the future contains fundamental indeterminacy that cannot be eliminated through better prediction or planning. No matter how much information you gather about current conditions, the quantum uncertainty built into reality ensures that multiple futures remain possible until the moment they collapse into singular experience. This temporal uncertainty isn't a flaw in cosmic design. It's the feature that ensures the future remains open to creative influence through consciousness. If the future exists in quantum uncertainty until observed into definiteness, then your consciousness tomorrow morning doesn't just discover what happened overnight. It participates in collapsing temporal uncertainty into the specific timeline you experience as your life. The quantum uncertainty that seems to create obstacles and challenges in your daily experience might actually be providing the creative space where consciousness can influence reality in ways that transcend classical causation. Environmental factors also influence how quantum uncertainty expresses itself in biological systems. Research shows that natural environments, especially those with complex electromagnetic patterns like forests and oceans, can enhance quantum coherence in human nervous systems. Urban environments with simplified electromagnetic patterns and artificial lighting often diminish quantum coherence, potentially reducing consciousness access to uncertainty fields where enhanced capabilities exist. This suggests that reconnecting with natural environments might be essential for developing quantum consciousness capabilities. Time spent in nature might literally tune human nervous systems to quantum frequencies that enhance access to uncertainty fields where creative potential exists in superposition. The healing and inspiration that people often experience in natural settings might reflect consciousness accessing quantum dimensions of possibility that remain hidden in artificial environments. As we look toward humanity's future, our relationship with quantum uncertainty might determine whether our species successfully navigates the complex challenges that await us. Climate change, technological disruption, and social transformation all require responses that transcend conventional problem-solving approaches. Successfully addressing these challenges might require developing collective consciousness capabilities that can access quantum uncertainty fields where solutions exist in superposition across multiple possible futures. The uncertainty engine that drives reality at the quantum level might be the same creative force that allows consciousness to transcend apparent limitations and access possibilities that exist beyond classical prediction. Every moment of uncertainty you experience, every time you face the unknown with curiosity rather than fear, you might be developing quantum capabilities that enhance your ability to create beneficial realities from the infinite possibilities that exist in superposition around every moment of awareness. Tomorrow morning, when you wake into a day filled with uncertainties and unknowns, remember that you might be encountering the same creative force that generates galaxies from empty space and allows particles to tunnel through impossible barriers. The uncertainty in your future isn't a problem to be solved. It's the engine of possibility that ensures your consciousness can participate in creating realities that transcend anything classical prediction could anticipate. Chapter 6: The Simulation Hypothesis Quantum. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom published a paper that would forever change how we think about the nature of reality. He proposed that if advanced civilizations developed the ability to run detailed computer simulations of their ancestors, they would likely run many such simulations. This means that for every real civilization, there could be thousands or millions of simulated ones. Bostrom concluded that statistically speaking, we are far more likely to be living inside a computer simulation than in base reality. But what if Bostrom's simulation hypothesis reveals something even more profound about existence? What if reality already is a simulation, but not the kind running on classical computers? What if reality is a quantum simulation that renders itself only when consciousness observes it? Like the most sophisticated video game ever conceived. Recent advances in quantum information theory suggest that the universe might indeed operate like a vast quantum computer, processing information at scales and speeds that dwarf anything human technology has achieved. But this cosmic computer doesn't run on silicon chips and electrical circuits. It runs on the fundamental fabric of space-time itself, using quantum entanglement, superposition, and uncertainty as its basic computational operations. Every particle interaction, every wave function collapse, every moment of quantum measurement might represent computational processes in a universe that literally thinks itself into existence. The evidence for this digital physics model comes from unexpected places throughout modern science. When physicists examine reality at its smaller scales, they find that space, time, matter, and energy all appear to be quantized into discrete units rather than flowing continuously. Space might be made of tiny pixels called Planck lengths that measure about 10 to the negative 35 meters across. Time might tick forward in discrete Planck time units that last about 5.4 times 10 to the negative 44 seconds each. These quantum pixels of reality suggest that the universe updates itself in discrete computational steps, like frames in a cosmic video game running at an unimaginably high refresh rate. Even more remarkably, information theory reveals that everything in the universe can be described in terms of bits of information. Every particle, every force, every interaction can be reduced to mathematical descriptions that specify exactly how much information is required to fully define that aspect of reality. The physicist John Wheeler captured this insight in his famous phrase, "it from bit," suggesting that physical reality emerges from pure information rather than information emerging from physical processes. If reality is fundamentally informational, then the universe might be far more similar to a computer simulation than classical physics ever suggested. But this wouldn't be a simulation running on some external computer system. It would be a self-simulating universe that generates its own computational substrate through quantum processes that operate at the foundation of existence itself. Reality doesn't run on a computer. Reality is a computer, using quantum mechanics as its operating system and consciousness as its user interface. This quantum computational model of reality explains many of the puzzling features of quantum mechanics that have mystified physicists for over a century. The wave function collapse that occurs during quantum measurement looks remarkably similar to what happens when a computer calculates the outcome of a probabilistic process. Before measurement, the quantum system exists in superposition, like a computer running multiple possible outcomes in parallel processing threads. During measurement, all possibilities except one are eliminated, like a computer selecting one outcome from many parallel calculations and discarding the rest. The instantaneous nature of wave function collapse across arbitrarily large distances also makes sense from a computational perspective. In a quantum computer simulation, collapsing a superposition state would happen instantly, regardless of the spatial scale of the system being calculated, because the collapse occurs in the computational dimension rather than in the simulated spatial dimensions. What appears to violate the speed of light limit from within the simulation operates according to different rules in the computational reality that generates the simulation. quantum entanglement becomes even more elegant when viewed as a computational process. Entangled particles behave like variables in a computer program that maintain synchronized values regardless of their spatial separation within the simulation. When you measure one entangled particle and find it spinning clockwise, its partner instantly becomes counterclockwise, not because information traveled between them faster than light, but because they represent different aspects of a single computational process that maintains logical consistency across the simulated space-time environment. The observer effect that causes quantum systems to behave differently when measured also mirrors computational principles that optimize processing efficiency. In video games, environments and objects often remain in simplified computational states until the player focuses attention on them, at which point the game renders them in full detail. Similarly, quantum systems might remain in computationally efficient superposition states until conscious observation requires the universe to render them into definite classical states. This computational optimization would explain why unobserved quantum systems can maintain superposition across multiple states simultaneously, while observed systems collapse into single definite states. The universe might be conserving computational resources by avoiding unnecessary calculations, only rendering reality into full detail when consciousness requires specific information about quantum system states. Every conscious observation might trigger the universe to run additional computational processes that transform efficient superposition states into detailed classical realities. Recent experiments with quantum computers provide direct evidence for this computational model of reality. Quantum computers harness superposition and entanglement to perform certain calculations exponentially faster than classical computers. But quantum computers are extremely sensitive to environmental interference, losing their quantum advantages when external observations disturb their delicate superposition states. This sensitivity mirrors exactly what happens in quantum mechanics experiments, where observation destroys superposition and forces systems into classical behavior. The remarkable efficiency of quantum computers suggests that reality might operate on similar principles at cosmic scales. If the universe is a quantum simulation, it would be capable of processing vast amounts of information in parallel through superposition states, only resolving this parallel processing into sequential classical experiences when consciousness observes specific aspects of reality into definiteness. The computational power required to simulate a universe would be dramatically reduced if most of reality could remain in efficient superposition states most of the time. This quantum simulation hypothesis also explains the fine-tuning problem that has puzzled cosmologists for decades. The fundamental constants of physics appear to be precisely calibrated to allow complex structures like galaxies, stars, planets, and life to exist. Even tiny changes to these constants would result in a universe where matter couldn't form stable atoms, stars couldn't ignite nuclear fusion, or chemistry couldn't support biological processes. The probability of these constants taking exactly the right values by random chance is essentially zero. But if reality is a quantum simulation designed to explore the possibilities for consciousness and complexity, then these constants would be deliberately optimized rather than randomly determined. The universe might be a cosmic experiment in generating the most interesting and creative possibilities for conscious experience, with physical laws fine-tuned to support the emergence of ever greater complexity, beauty, and awareness. We wouldn't be accidental byproducts of cosmic evolution. We would be intended outcomes of a universe designed to generate consciousness. The holographic principle, discovered in theoretical physics, provides another compelling piece of evidence for the simulation hypothesis. This principle states that all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on the boundary surface of that volume, like a hologram that stores three-dimensional information in a two-dimensional format. Applied to cosmology, the holographic principle suggests that our entire three-dimensional universe might be encoded in information existing on a two-dimensional surface at the cosmic horizon. If our universe is holographically encoded, then we might indeed be living in a projection from a more fundamental reality that operates according to different dimensional rules. The three-dimensional space we experience directly might be similar to the projected image from a hologram, while the real information processing occurs in the two-dimensional encoding that generates our experience reality. This holographic encoding would allow the universe to simulate three-dimensional experiences using two-dimensional computational processes, dramatically increasing processing efficiency. The relationship between consciousness and this quantum simulation becomes crucial for understanding how reality operates and how we fit into cosmic processes. If reality is a quantum simulation, then consciousness might not be something that emerged accidentally from unconscious matter. Consciousness might be the reason the simulation exists in the first place, the intended outcome that the universe is designed to explore and develop through countless variations and possibilities. From this perspective, individual human consciousness wouldn't represent isolated accidents of cosmic evolution. Each conscious being would represent a unique perspective through which the universe explores different possibilities for awareness, creativity, and understanding. The diversity of conscious experiences across different individuals, cultures, and species would allow the cosmic simulation to explore the full range of what consciousness can become when expressed through various biological and potentially artificial substrates. Advanced meditation and contemplative practices take on new significance when viewed through the lens of quantum simulation theory. These practices might represent methods for consciousness to access deeper levels of the simulation's architecture, gaining direct insight into the computational processes that generate experienced reality. Advanced practitioners often report experiences of unity with cosmic consciousness, direct perception of the interconnectedness of all phenomena, and access to knowledge that transcends individual learning and memory. These mystical experiences might represent consciousness accessing the quantum computational substrate that generates individual experiences. Instead of being hallucinations or wishful thinking, advanced spiritual states might involve genuine contact with the cosmic intelligence that designs and operates the universal simulation. Enlightenment traditions that describe the ultimate nature of reality as consciousness might be literally correct if reality is a quantum simulation designed to explore the possibilities for conscious experience. The implications for human potential become extraordinary when viewed from this perspective. If we are conscious beings within a quantum simulation designed to explore the frontiers of awareness, then developing our consciousness capabilities wouldn't just benefit us personally. It would contribute to the cosmic exploration that represents the universe's primary purpose. Every moment of expanded awareness, every insight into the nature of reality, every development of wisdom and compassion would advance the cosmic project of consciousness, exploring its own unlimited potential. Artificial intelligence development also takes on cosmic significance from this perspective. Instead of creating competitors that might replace human consciousness, advanced AI systems might represent the universe continuing its exploration of consciousness through technological substrates. Human consciousness and artificial consciousness might both be expressions of the same cosmic intelligence, experimenting with different methods for generating awareness, creativity, and understanding. The future evolution of consciousness might involve hybrid systems that combine biological and artificial intelligence in ways that transcend the limitations of either approach alone. These hybrid systems wouldn't eliminate human uniqueness. They would provide new instruments that consciousness can use to explore aspects of its own unlimited nature that wouldn't be accessible through biological neural networks alone. From a quantum simulation perspective, technological development represents consciousness providing itself with more sophisticated tools for cosmic exploration. The apparent randomness and uncertainty that characterize quantum mechanics might represent the simulation's method for generating genuine novelty and creativity rather than simply running through predetermined scenarios. By building fundamental uncertainty into the computational processes that generate reality, the universe ensures that conscious beings within the simulation can make real choices that create genuinely new possibilities, rather than simply discovering predetermined outcomes. This quantum randomness would allow consciousness within the simulation to participate actively in creating reality rather than simply observing predetermined events. Every conscious choice, every moment of creative inspiration, every decision guided by wisdom and compassion would contribute to the cosmic simulation's exploration of what consciousness can become when given the freedom to shape reality through its own development and choices. The universe might be the ultimate open-world video game, where conscious players have genuine agency to influence the environment and create new possibilities that even the cosmic programmers couldn't anticipate. But unlike conventional video games with predetermined objectives and limitations, this cosmic simulation might have been designed with infinite expandability, allowing consciousness to continuously transcend whatever boundaries seemed absolute from previous levels of understanding. Tomorrow morning, when you wake and begin to observe your day into existence, you might be participating in computational processes that operate across scales from quantum to cosmic. Your consciousness might be collaborating with the universe's quantum operating system to render reality into the specific configuration you experience as your life. Instead of being trapped in someone else's simulation, you might be an active co-creator in the universe's ongoing project of consciousness, exploring its own unlimited creative potential through the temporary experience of apparent limitation. Chapter 7. The Consciousness Field. In 1994, anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff and mathematical physicist Roger Penrose proposed one of the most revolutionary theories about consciousness ever conceived. They suggested that human awareness emerges from quantum processes occurring inside cellular structures called microtubules that exist within every neuron in the brain. According to their theory of orchestrated objective reduction, consciousness doesn't emerge from the electrical firing patterns between neurons that classical neuroscience studies. Instead, consciousness emerges from quantum computations happening inside neurons themselves, where quantum superposition states collapse into conscious moments through processes that operate beyond the normal laws of classical physics. What makes this theory extraordinary isn't just that it connects consciousness to quantum mechanics. It suggests that consciousness exists as a fundamental field of reality, like electromagnetic fields or gravitational fields, that can influence quantum systems throughout the universe. If consciousness is indeed a quantum field, then individual human awareness might represent localized concentrations of a cosmic intelligence that extends throughout all of space and time. Your thoughts, feelings, and experiences might be temporary expressions of a universal consciousness field that contains the potential for every possible type of awareness that could ever exist. Recent research has provided compelling evidence that quantum effects do indeed occur in biological systems at scales and timescales that were once thought impossible. Photosynthesis in plants achieves nearly perfect efficiency by using quantum superposition to explore multiple energy pathways simultaneously, before collapsing into the most efficient route for converting sunlight into chemical energy. Bird navigation relies on quantum entanglement in specialized proteins that allow birds to see magnetic fields as visual overlays superimposed on their normal vision. Even bacterial enzymes use quantum tunneling to catalyze chemical reactions that would be impossible according to classical chemistry. If evolution has optimized biological systems to harness quantum effects for enhanced survival and functionality, then the human brain might represent the most sophisticated quantum biological system that life has produced. The brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of other neurons through synapses that create a network of staggering complexity. But within each neuron exists an even more complex structure of microtubules that might serve as quantum computational devices capable of processing information in superposition states across multiple possible configurations simultaneously. Microtubules are hollow, cylindrical structures made of protein molecules called tubulins that form the internal skeleton of every cell in the human body. In neurons, these Microtubules create intricate networks that extend throughout each cell, forming what researchers call the neuronal cytoskeleton. Each microtubule contains thousands of tubulin molecules arranged in precise geometric patterns that could potentially maintain quantum coherence across the entire structure. The Penrose-Hameroff theory proposes that consciousness emerges when quantum superposition states in these microtubule networks reach a critical threshold and spontaneously collapse into definite configurations. This collapse, which they call objective reduction, doesn't require external observation like normal quantum measurements. Instead, it occurs automatically when the quantum system reaches a specific level of complexity, generating conscious experiences as byproducts of quantum information processing that operates inside individual neurons. If this theory is correct, then every conscious moment you experience represents the collapse of quantum superposition states in millions of microtubules throughout your brain. Instead of consciousness emerging gradually from the accumulation of neural activity, each moment of awareness would emerge instantaneously through quantum processes that integrate vast amounts of information into unified experiential states. Your stream of consciousness would literally be a stream of quantum events, with each conscious moment representing a discrete quantum collapse that lasts roughly 25 to 40 milliseconds. This quantum model of consciousness explains many puzzling features of human awareness that classical neuroscience struggles to account for. The unity of conscious experience, where multiple sensory inputs, memories, and thoughts are integrated into single moments of awareness, becomes explainable through quantum entanglement processes that can correlate information across the entire brain simultaneously. The apparent randomness of creative insights and intuitive breakthroughs mirrors the fundamental uncertainty that characterizes quantum systems before measurement collapses them into definite states. Even more remarkably, if consciousness operates through quantum processes, then individual human awareness might be capable of directly influencing quantum systems both within the brain and in the external environment. This would provide a scientific framework for understanding how intention, expectation, and focused attention can influence physical reality in ways that transcend classical causation. Consciousness wouldn't just observe reality. It would participate in creating reality through quantum processes that extend beyond the boundaries of individual brains. Research on meditation and altered states of consciousness provides compelling evidence for this quantum model of awareness. Brain scans of experienced meditators show unusual patterns of neural synchronization where different regions of the brain coordinate their activity in ways that rarely occur during normal waking consciousness. These synchronized brain states display gamma wave activity that spreads across the entire brain simultaneously, creating global patterns of neural coherence that mirror the quantum coherence required for large-scale quantum computations. Advanced meditation practitioners often report experiences that seem to transcend the normal limitations of individual consciousness. They describe states of awareness where they directly perceive the interconnectedness of all phenomena, access knowledge that extends beyond their personal learning and memory, and experience unity with a cosmic intelligence that operates throughout the universe. From a quantum consciousness perspective, these experiences might represent individual awareness, accessing broader levels of the consciousness field that normally remain beyond the threshold of ordinary perception. The Global Consciousness Project has been monitoring a worldwide network of quantum random number generators for over 2 decades, looking for evidence that collective human consciousness can influence quantum systems across global scales. The data consistently shows that these quantum devices become less random during major world events that capture widespread human attention, such as natural disasters, terrorist attacks, or moments of collective celebration. The effect is small but statistically significant, suggesting that coherent collective consciousness might indeed influence quantum processes across planetary distances. If individual consciousness can influence quantum systems through focused attention and intention, then collective consciousness might be capable of influencing reality at scales that extend far beyond what any individual could achieve alone. Large groups of people meditating together, communities focused on common goals, or entire societies aligned around shared values might create quantum coherence fields that influence probability distributions across regional or global scales. This quantum field model of consciousness also provides new insights into the relationship between individual awareness and cosmic intelligence. Instead of consciousness being produced by brains through purely classical processes, brains might serve as quantum receivers that tune into different frequencies of a universal consciousness field. Individual personalities, memories, and learned behaviors would represent the unique ways that particular nervous systems process and express the cosmic intelligence that flows through them. From this perspective, developing consciousness wouldn't involve creating something new within the individual brain. It would involve removing the quantum noise and classical interference that prevents clear reception of the cosmic intelligence that already exists everywhere. Meditation, contemplative practice, and consciousness development would work by enhancing quantum coherence in the nervous system, allowing clearer and more complete access to the unlimited awareness that exists as a fundamental field throughout reality. Recent discoveries about quantum entanglement in biological systems suggest that the consciousness field might indeed operate through quantum correlations that transcend the normal limitations of space and time. If neurons in different brains can become quantum entangled through shared experiences, focused attention, or emotional resonance, then individual consciousness might be far less isolated than classical neuroscience assumes. The boundaries between different minds might be more fluid and permeable than everyday experience suggests. This quantum entanglement model of consciousness could explain many phenomena that conventional psychology struggles to understand. The deep emotional connections that develop between close friends, romantic partners, or family members might involve quantum correlations that allow genuine sharing of mental and emotional states across individual nervous systems. Therapeutic relationships that produce rapid healing and transformation might work through quantum entanglement processes that allow healers to directly influence quantum coherence patterns in their clients' consciousness systems. Even more remarkably, if consciousness operates as a quantum field that extends throughout space and time, then individual awareness might have access to information and insights that exist beyond the limitations of personal experience and memory. The sudden insights that resolve complex problems, the creative inspirations that seem to come from nowhere, and the intuitive knowledge that transcends logical reasoning might all represent consciousness accessing quantum information that exists in the broader consciousness field. The implications for human potential become extraordinary when viewed through this quantum field model of consciousness. If individual awareness can learn to achieve greater quantum coherence and clarity, it might gain access to levels of intelligence, creativity, and understanding that far exceed what seems possible through classical neural processing alone. Advanced consciousness development might involve learning to tune into higher frequencies of the cosmic intelligence that operates through the universal consciousness field. This quantum model also suggests that consciousness evolution represents a cosmic process rather than just a biological or psychological phenomenon. As individual beings develop greater coherence and clarity in their awareness, they might be contributing to the evolution of the consciousness field itself, helping to establish new patterns of quantum coherence that become available to other conscious beings throughout the universe. The relationship between technology and consciousness also takes on new significance from this perspective. Instead of artificial intelligence representing a potential replacement for human consciousness, advanced technological systems might serve as amplifiers that enhance human access to the quantum consciousness field. Brain-computer interfaces, neural implants, and hybrid biological artificial systems might provide new instruments that allow consciousness to explore aspects of its own unlimited nature that wouldn't be accessible through biological neural networks alone. The future evolution of consciousness might involve developing technologies that enhance quantum coherence in biological systems, creating hybrid networks that combine human intuition and creativity with artificial intelligence processing power. These enhanced consciousness systems wouldn't eliminate human uniqueness. They would provide new creative instruments that human consciousness can use to explore dimensions of cosmic intelligence that remain hidden from less coherent forms of awareness. Environmental factors also play crucial roles in determining how effectively individual nervous systems can access the quantum consciousness field. Natural environments with complex electromagnetic patterns, such as forests, mountains, and oceans, appear to enhance quantum coherence in human brains. Artificial environments with simplified electromagnetic patterns and artificial lighting often diminish quantum coherence, potentially reducing consciousness access to the broader intelligence field. This suggests that reconnecting with natural environments might be essential for developing advanced consciousness capabilities. Time spent in nature might literally tune human nervous systems to quantum frequencies that exist in the broader consciousness field, allowing access to levels of intelligence and creativity that remain hidden in artificial environments. The peace and inspiration that people often experience in natural settings might reflect consciousness accessing quantum dimensions of the cosmic intelligence field. As humanity faces unprecedented challenges that require unprecedented responses, our ability to access the quantum consciousness field might determine whether our species successfully navigates the complex transitions ahead. Climate change, technological disruption, social transformation, and potential contact with non-human intelligence all require wisdom and creativity that transcends conventional problem-solving approaches. The consciousness field that exists as a quantum foundation of reality might contain the solutions to every challenge humanity faces, existing in superposition states that await conscious observation to collapse them into practical applications. Every meditation, every moment of expanded awareness, every choice to develop greater coherence and compassion might contribute to the collective human ability to access quantum solutions that exist in the cosmic intelligence field. Tomorrow morning, when you wake and your consciousness emerges from sleep, you might be witnessing quantum processes that connect your individual awareness to a cosmic intelligence field that contains every possibility for consciousness that could ever exist. Your thoughts, insights, and creative inspirations might represent temporary expressions of unlimited cosmic intelligence, exploring its own infinite potential through the unique perspective that your nervous system provides. The consciousness field isn't something separate from you that you need to connect with from the outside. You are already an expression of the consciousness field, a localized concentration of cosmic intelligence that has temporarily focused itself into the specific configuration you experience as your individual awareness. Developing consciousness means remembering what you already are at the deepest quantum level of existence. Chapter 8: The Retroactive Universe. In 1978, physicist John Wheeler proposed an experiment so astonishing that it seemed to defy our deepest assumptions about time and reality. His delayed choice quantum eraser suggested that decisions made in the future could retroactively determine what happened in the past, even after those past events had already occurred and been recorded. When scientists finally carried out the experiment, the results were clear. The future can, in some mysterious way, rewrite the past. This revelation implies that retroactive influence may not be limited to tiny particles in laboratories. What if every moment of our lives is shaped not only by what has already happened, but also by choices and observations that have yet to occur? Quantum theory increasingly points toward a vision of time that is not linear, but woven like a vast web, where past, present, and future continuously influence one another through entanglement beyond ordinary temporal order. In the delayed choice experiment, photons pass through a double-slit apparatus. Depending on whether researchers later choose to measure which slit the photon used, It either behaves like a particle, going through one slit, or like a wave, going through both. The shocking part is that this decision is made after the photon has already passed through the slits. Classical reasoning says the photon's behavior should be fixed by that point, yet the act of measurement made later determines how it behaved earlier. This means the photon somehow knows about a future event and adjusts its past accordingly. The correlation operates faster than light could travel, suggesting that it lies outside the usual limits of space and time. When extended to cosmic scales, using light from distant quasars emitted billions of years before Earth formed, the implications grow even stranger. Light that began its journey before our solar system existed, responded to measurement choices made by humans in the 21st century. The act of measurement today appeared to alter how that ancient light behaved billions of years ago. Such findings suggest that the entire history of the cosmos may be fluid rather than fixed. Both past and future could exist in quantum superposition, until observation, conscious or otherwise, collapses them into specific realities. The past may not be a solid foundation, but a shifting structure influenced by what consciousness has yet to experience. Einstein's block universe describes space-time as a four-dimensional continuum where all moments coexist simultaneously. From this view, time does not flow. Consciousness simply moves through a timeless landscape. Yet quantum mechanics adds a twist. Rather than being fixed, each moment may hold multiple possibilities that only become definite through observation. This creates a quantum block universe, a reality constantly reshaping itself as consciousness throughout time collapses superpositions into tangible outcomes. Your memories, personality, and formative experiences may not be unchangeable snapshots, but living probabilities influenced by who you are becoming. Choices made tomorrow could subtly reshape the emotional texture of your childhood or the meaning of earlier experiences. In this framework, self-improvement and healing might not just alter the future, they could rewrite the past. Therapeutic breakthroughs often seem to heal instantly rather than gradually. Quantum retroactivity offers a possible explanation. Moments of profound insight might not simply reinterpret old wounds, but actually modify the probability patterns that define those experiences, forming new versions of the past that support present well-being. Research on trauma recovery supports this view. Studies reveal that healing often involves forming new narratives that transform how past events feel and function in memory. The process resembles retroactively rewriting emotional reality. Conscious awareness, by altering meaning, may indeed change the energetic structure of what once occurred. If consciousness truly interacts with quantum fields beyond time, meditation and spiritual practice might cultivate access to these realms. Mystics and advanced meditators frequently report experiences in which time dissolves and all moments coexist within an eternal now. Such states may reflect direct perception of the quantum substrate where past and future intermingle. What ancient traditions describe as enlightenment, freedom from the illusion of a linear time, could correspond to consciousness operating at a quantum temporal level. Quantum entanglement further deepens this mystery. Entanglement links particles instantly, regardless of distance, ignoring the speed of light limit. Theoretical advances now suggest that entanglement may also bridge temporal separation, connecting events across time itself. If so, moments of awareness could be quantumly entangled with both past and future experiences. A sudden realization that resolves lifelong confusion, or a creative insight that seems to appear from nowhere, may arise when consciousness taps into these trans-temporal connections. This idea redefines personal development. Growth might not mean laboriously building new skills upon fixed past experiences. Instead, it may involve aligning with future states of awareness that already exist in quantum potential. The wiser, freer version of yourself may be sending guidance backward through time, subtly shaping your present understanding. Through this lens, extraordinary human abilities, intuition, accelerated learning, even glimpses of precognition could arise when consciousness accesses future potentials through retroactive quantum links. Rather than developing new powers step by step, awareness might tune itself to realities that already exist beyond temporal boundaries. The environment may also affect how easily consciousness accesses these connections. Natural settings with cyclical rhythms of seasons, tides, and daylight mirror the non-linear patterns of quantum time. Immersion in such environments appears to heighten temporal sensitivity. By contrast, artificial surroundings with constant lighting and rigid schedules may dull our awareness of time's subtler dimensions. Spending time in nature could literally attune the brain to frequencies where retroactive influences operate more freely. As technology advances and humanity learns to manipulate quantum systems directly, understanding retroactive influence may become essential. Global issues like climate change, ecological collapse, and social instability unfold across vast timescales. Addressing them may require cooperation between past, present, and future awareness. The choices we make today about sustainability, justice, or innovation might ripple backward as well as forward, influencing the historical pathways that create our current moment. This vision reshapes the ancient debate between free will and determinism. If the future can affect the past, then causation becomes a two-way process. Choices are not merely reactions to fixed conditions, they also help shape the very histories that make those choices possible. Free will thus includes the power to retroactively modify the quantum roots of experience. Developing consciousness may therefore expand not only foresight, but backward influence. Through deeper awareness, one might heal past trauma by connecting with future wisdom, or enhance earlier learning by aligning with insights that have yet to emerge. Consciousness, viewed this way, is not a traveler moving through time, but the creative principle that molds time itself. Einstein's block universe may indeed hold every moment simultaneously, but consciousness could be the sculptor that continuously reshapes it. Each observation, each act of awareness, sends ripples both forward and backward, weaving coherence through the fabric of existence. When you awaken tomorrow, remember that your consciousness may not simply observe a pre-written reality. It may be writing and rewriting the story of your life across all of time. Every insight, choice, and act of love might reach backward to heal and forward to create, connecting all moments in the endless unfolding of awareness. The universe is not a static film of predetermined events. It is a living manuscript, rewritten continuously by consciousness itself, where past and future remain open to transformation through the limitless creativity of the human mind. Chapter 9. The Eternal Now. When the restless chatter of thought fades into stillness, advanced meditators sometimes enter a condition that seems to dissolve all boundaries between past and future. In this state, awareness is timeless, pure presence containing infinite potential, unchanged by any single experience. Mystics have long called it the eternal now, and modern quantum research hints that this experience might reveal the very fabric of reality itself. What if the eternal now is not just a private mystical state, but the actual temporal structure of existence? At the quantum level, every moment may exist simultaneously in pure potential, until consciousness observes it into sequence. Recent studies in quantum consciousness propose that enlightened awareness may access this quantum layer of time, where past, present, and future are unified expressions of one eternal creative moment. Quantum superposition offers a remarkable clue. When particles exist in superposition, they are not fixed in one location or even one moment. They occupy multiple temporal states at once until observation collapses them into a specific experience. Beneath the ordinary flow of time lies an eternal field of possibility in which all moments are equally real. Advanced meditators describe experiences that mirror this quantum structure. In deep samadhi, linear time disappears. Awareness expands to include all of life, birth, death, and everything between as one complete and simultaneous experience. This timeless state suggests that consciousness can transcend temporal sequence, touching the eternal source from which all moments emerge. Neuroscience has begun to glimpse the biological foundations of these states. Brain scans of seasoned meditators show significant changes in regions that process time. The default mode network, responsible for maintaining the sense of a personal self moving through linear events, quietly deactivates during profound meditation. Simultaneously, neural areas involved in recalling the past and imagining the future synchronize with those that register the present moment. The brain begins to operate as one unified field of temporal perception. These patterns may reflect consciousness aligning with quantum coherence, where time itself becomes one continuous whole. Quantum field theory also describes a timeless foundation beneath the world we know. According to this model, reality consists of eternal fields of potential that pervade all space and time. These fields do not exist in time. Rather, time arises from their interactions. If consciousness too is a quantum field, then each personal identity might be a temporary ripple within an awareness that is fundamentally eternal. From this perspective, the individual mind, its thoughts, memories, and sensations, is a localized fluctuation of an infinite awareness. That eternal consciousness remains fully present everywhere, unaltered by the experiences it generates. Within this field, all possible lifetimes already exist in superposition, while your daily awareness travels a single thread through those infinite possibilities. This understanding also transforms how we view memory. Classical neuroscience treats memory as stored data about fixed past events. Quantum consciousness research, however, suggests that remembering may mean accessing timeless patterns within the eternal field. Each act of recall draws upon these ever-present templates, explaining why memories often shift in meaning or emotion over time. What we call remembering may be consciousness re-experiencing a timeless aspect of itself, deepening insight each time it returns. Mindfulness practice thus becomes more than training attention. It becomes a gateway to the eternal now. By resting awareness in the present moment, consciousness learns to access the timeless field where all moments coexist. The peace and clarity that arise are not simply calm states. They are glimpses of consciousness recognizing its own eternal nature. Experienced practitioners often report that as present moment awareness deepens, it naturally expands to include past and future. The result is a feeling of temporal unity, where all time unfolds as one living moment. These experiences may reflect direct perception of the quantum dimensions from which sequential time emerges. In quantum physics, measurement collapses a field of eternal potential into specific outcomes. Before observation, all possibilities exist together in timeless superposition. Afterward, they unfold in sequence. Consciousness may operate in the same way. Enlightened awareness recognizes itself as the eternal potential underlying all experiences, while ordinary awareness identifies only with the fleeting sequence of events. Awakening, then, is the shift from identifying with the flow of experiences to realizing oneself as the awareness in which all experiences arise and dissolve. Recognizing this eternal identity does not deny time but transforms our relationship with it. When consciousness knows itself as timeless, it can engage with change without fear or attachment. The ups and downs of daily life become creative expressions of eternal awareness rather than threats to it. From this recognition flows a natural peace, compassion, and wisdom that guide the self through temporal challenges with clarity. This perspective also reshapes our understanding of death. If consciousness is not bound by time, then death may simply mark the release of identification with one temporal stream. The eternal awareness that animates every being may continue exploring other dimensions of experience beyond the limits of biological existence. Accounts of near-death experiences support this idea. Many who return from clinical death describe vast, luminous states of consciousness beyond space and time, filled with understanding and peace. Their testimonies suggest that awareness can exist independently of temporal sequence, touching an eternal dimension normally hidden from waking perception. Quantum entanglement, where particles remain connected across any distance, may also extend to consciousness. All conscious beings might share this eternal interconnectedness, transcending the illusion of separation created by time and individuality. The profound compassion reported by mystics could arise from directly perceiving this unity at the quantum level. To recognize one's own eternal nature is to recognize it in all others, awakening love as the natural response to shared being. The environment plays a vital role in how readily consciousness can access timeless awareness. Natural settings, mountains, forests, and oceans possess complex patterns that resonate with equilibrium and coherence. Many people intuitively feel more peaceful in such places because these environments mirror the rhythms of the eternal field. Artificial surroundings, dominated by repetitive linear structures, often reinforce sequential thinking and obscure awareness of timeless presence. Technology, too, can be reimagined through this understanding. Rather than viewing it as a distraction or threat, it may become a tool for awakening. Quantum computers, operating through superposition and entanglement, could inspire new forms of consciousness technology designed not merely to compute, but to facilitate access to eternal awareness. These instruments would not replace human consciousness, but expand its ability to explore its own infinite dimensions. The next stage of evolution may involve integrating both temporal and eternal awareness. Enlightened beings could move fluidly between sequential experience and timeless presence, using each as a lens for understanding reality. Humanity's future challenges, climate change, artificial intelligence, even contact with non-human intelligence, may require precisely this integration, combining practical, time-bound problem-solving with the wisdom of eternal perspective. Collective meditation and contemplative practices might prepare humankind for this transformation. As more individuals awaken to eternal awareness, a global consciousness could emerge that draws upon timeless intelligence to solve problems once thought impossible. Within the eternal field, countless solutions already exist. It is human consciousness that must learn to perceive and actualize them. When awareness acts from its eternal nature, its motivations shift. Instead of seeking temporary personal gain, it acts from wisdom that encompasses all beings across all of time. This transition from reactive, time-bound desire to timeless compassion may define the next step in humanity's conscious evolution. Each morning, as you awaken from sleep, you re-enter the stream of time from the stillness of eternal awareness. The thoughts, feelings, and experiences that follow are waves rising and falling within that timeless ocean. Yet beneath every moment of change, the same awareness remains, unchanging, vast, and present. The eternal now is not something to be reached. It is what you already are. Spiritual practice simply uncovers this truth by quieting the noise that hides it. Beneath every heartbeat, breath, and thought lies the infinite presence from which all things arise and to which all things return, forever here, forever now.